Welcome, everybody, to the CFF List Waiver Watch Draft for Week 8. I'm your host, Jay Mill. I got my partner, Willie B, as usual. How you doing, Willie?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
We're recording in the evening. Willie is a 49ers fan. He's not too happy if he's not smiling as much, and that's all I'll say about that today.
Yeah, we don't have any O-line available for this waiver watch, so yeah, we're going to be good.
Right, exactly. And also, we're here for the playoff, first of 4 playoff rounds here that we're going to have. We've got the return of DevyJake, from the infamous Sickos League, the founder and creator of the craziest fantasy league we're part of, where he came up with the idea to remove 250 of the top players from the league before we could even start the draft, and then we still proceed to go like 35 deep in the draft. So it's kind of the equivalent of having like a 60-round draft. Jake, what do you think it's the equivalent of there in terms of how deep we have to go?
I mean, it is the equivalent from a player perspective, yes. But I've seen 60-round drafts, and all of the roster construction elements of it get taken away in that, and you're also still relying on your studs and the people that you draft in the first 10 rounds. It's a truly unique thing where you do have to worry about roster construction. Everyone's going in for all the quarterbacks because there's 24 teams fighting over however many starting quarterbacks remaining, and it's a lot of fun. And I think we counted out, and it was like 800 or 900 players deep. And some people still seem to have players left over on their list. I was cutting it close. I think I may have had one or two still, but I was getting close to my limit there.
Yeah, it's we're all three in it. I'm just going to do a quick standings check here for the Sickos League since we've got Jake in there. I pulled out a win. Willie, I think you might have had a tough loss, but it looks like I'm sitting at 4-2. Willie's also 4-2, so that's nice. Jake, let's see.
Yeah, I'm 4-3. So how are you guys 4-2?
Yeah, well, Jake and I are both 4-3. I'm not sure what Jay Mills what standings he's got, but
I'm sorry, I'm 5-2. I'm 5-2, and you guys are
there
both.
You go.
So, but you are in a position to where it looks like, as happens in fantasy, Jake, you've got 11 more points than me on the season, but you're one more in the loss column than I do.
I hate to see it. And I'm like 11 points out from the playoffs. I mean, I don't know why Fantrax kind of does it like this with the standings. Like now I'm in 8th, but Steve is one spot behind me with the same record, but he has more points. So I don't know, and less points against him. So I don't know how they figure that.
It does that for us in our Super Starters League too. We just tell everybody, look, just understand it's going to go based on record and total points for the most part. We do add a head-to-head element in our league, but people always seem to get confused about that. But I'll cite another example too. Like, it's the kind of league where I'm happy to have J.C. French from Georgia Southern and Evan Simon leading the way from Temple.
Right.
They both put up points in the mid-20s this week, and I couldn't be happier. And Baron Morton's out, and it's a best ball, so I have no choice but to just cross my fingers and hope nobody else gets hurt at this point.
But
right.
the thing I like about it, though, is that you look at the players available. There's still some great names, players that no one took. That are
you go 900 deep and still miss on like 100 guys easily.
A guy that was just that's a good lead-in, Willie, to last week's results, because my quarterback, Liam Sarka, there was a discussion in the Sickos chat, like, hey, how is Liam Sarka not on anybody's roster? And when I took him last week in the waiver draft, because I promised you when I took him, nobody had him on any list anywhere. And the fact that he wasn't taken in the Sickos League is your proof that he wasn't on anybody's list anywhere. Otherwise, he would be on a team. My claim to fame for Sickos right now is my running back from last week. I'm just going right through my roster. Michael Allen, I did have in the Sickos League, and he's finally the first 2 weeks, Marshall didn't quite know what was going on, but I had a feeling he would be the lead back because he transferred in from North Carolina State with the new head coach, and I just took my chance. I took 2 of them. I got lucky to have one of the guys that's emerged there, And that is one of the real big reasons that all of us had such a good week this week in the waiver draft. Yeah, because of Marshall. We talked about the fact that we were rolling with a trio here. Farnsworth, our guest picker from last week, double dipped with Carlos Del Rio at quarterback, and then took the receiver, DeMarcus Lacey, super explosive receiver there. And then I took the running back, Marcus Allen, and not Marcus Allen, Michael Allen. But Farnsworth ended up with 38 points from Del Rio Wilson, 27.5 points from DeMarcus Lacey, and I got 17.2 there from Michael Allen. So the Marshall trio worked out. I have a feeling a couple of these guys might go in this week's draft as well. And across the board, I would say you can disagree, but I don't think you will, Willie. Probably the best collective output of the season with Farnsworth at 125. I had 85.4 with a tight end that ended up not even playing, Randy Pittman. And then you ended up with 83.5 and also had one player that ended up being a late injury scratch. So I think you and I could both get a pass for, finishing in the mid 80s with two players that we had no indication were even hurt, that didn't even play, that ended up getting a zeros, or we very likely would have hit that target of 90 that we like to set as kind of the minimum standard for being very good. But just overall, I've kind of had a down year, so I was happy to get up in the mid 80s. And Willie, I know you're 83.5. You're a little bit of a perfectionist, so you're probably not too happy, even though you had four players out of the six that did really well.
Yeah, Gibson, that's very unfortunate. I was really hoping for a good 120 this week. So, Fellaini, however you say his name, he I think he probably got dinged up. He didn't have as many snaps as he normally did, but pulling out a zero, that's just not acceptable on my part. So,
Right.
Yeah, but all in all, a good week. So we'll do better.
Yeah, and again, I've been looking at it as a group how we did across positions. So we really went 3 for 3 at QB. We've mentioned Del Rio Wilson, Zarka, and you had Ryan Brown from Purdue who got 20, which is that number we try to hit at quarterback. The running backs, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 here were on point. 4 of them were really good. You led the way at running back with Jeffrey Pittman from Southern Miss, who you called out as a 2% roster guy that was gaining a lot of momentum. He ended up with 27.1 in the Thursday night game. And then Ja'Kai Middlebrook also came through with 14.2 for you. The bust at running back was the true freshman we were giving a lot of credit to, who had a nice breakout game in his debut for San Jose State with Steve Chavez Soto. I guess we got to put the brakes on a little bit on Steve Chavez Soto, because he ended up only getting 2.5 points for me. It doesn't look like he was going to be a very integral part of the game plan. He just happened to have a nice first game as a true freshman last week, but we'll see. Maybe somebody will take a chance on him again this week. I won't be. I'll tell you guys that now. And then receiver, 1, 2, it looked like we hit on 3 out of the 6 there. Lacey, I had Gabriel Benyard, the kind of the dual eligibility guy there from Kennesaw State, who happens to be on a bye this week, but he's still worth grabbing for your playoff run. And then Willie, you took a guy that I've had earlier in the season, Jordan Napier, who just shockingly was still at 28% eligible. I think he's finally over the 30% mark after this weekend and another 22 points. So, and then we continue at tight end to just struggle. Your guy had 0. Pittman didn't play because of an injury. But Farnsworth came through for the group. He gave Cummings from Appalachian State a third week in a row in the waiver wire after starting off with 3 really solid weeks for the season. Then I took him. Then Purple Rain took him, flopped both weeks. I think 2 points followed by 3 points. Farnsworth said, nope, don't give up on him. They've just had some weird stuff happening at quarterback with A.J. Swan hurt. Even though Swan didn't play, looks like the new quarterback likes him a lot also. And they've kind of got their stuff together there. So Cummings came through and bounced back with 21.4 points. Farnsworth, with his 125, leads the season almost made it into the top 10 of all time. I think 127 something would have done that for him. So I've got to say he was probably, a top 15 score at that 125. But certainly leading the way for the season. Jake, who's back with us, has the third highest score of the year back in week 4, or third highest score of our guest pickers for the year, with 102 or 103. And then the other two that will be joining us here in this 4-week playoff stretch is the duo from the G5 Hive, Luke and Justice. So we'll be seeing those guys in a couple of weeks. What we're going to try to do is get Jake, Farnsworth, Luke, and Justice in here individually, so it's fair. They can't say that, hey, another guy was with me, he took some picks that I was going to take. It'll be a 3-man draft for the next 4 weeks. And then hopefully, if the 2 high scores out of these 4 are available, week 12 for the grand finale, right before everybody's playoffs start, we'll bring back the top 2 to try to crown a champion. What do you think about that, Jake? You're going to be ready to do that if you get in the top 2?
Oh, man, I am ready. I cannot wait. I am going to lay the smackdown on those other 3.
All right. Nothing like a good smacking.
Right.
All right. So we have gone to the randomizer, and Willie thinks I'm cheating here by going first. Quite honestly, I'd rather be in the middle because of the snake back. Like I think going second and then 5th would be the way to go. So I think Jake's in the prime position to win here with that second pick. And then, since Willie's going to get back-to-back and we do a one-time snake, Jake's going to get that 5th pick coming back to him. So with that said, I will kick it off, though, because I'm first. The rules are this is players who can help your roster get your roster holes filled immediately. We're going based on the matchup. So these are strictly guys that we think are worth having on your roster, but more specifically worth having on your roster this week so that you can fill some holes that might have popped up from injury or just guys you're tired of and want to get rid of. And they've got to be under 30%. So with that said, I don't know about you guys, but I had quarterbacks running off my page. So I'm going to wait on quarterback. I think that running back was the tricky spot. I had enough players at all the positions, but I had the more elite group limited, in my opinion, at the running back spot. So I'm going to steal Willie's guy from last week, Jeffrey Pittman. He was the top waiver watch running back last week. And he has an even better matchup this week against Louisiana Lafayette. That's Jeffrey Pittman, Southern Miss. The only player here I didn't put a percentage on, but I'm pretty sure he's around 10 or 13%, maybe even 6. We'll find out. 7. So should be widely available in several leagues. If you guys didn't buy the hype, you probably should after Willie called him out last week. Louisiana, University of Louisiana, is 133rd in giving up yards, and they've given up 13 touchdowns. And then we've got that mystery stat. They're also 134th according to Fantrax in giving up points to running backs is how we believe that's calculated. 17.8 point average. But what we love is 21, 20, and 27 points in the last 3 weeks. So he's on a hot streak. That was one of those teams where they hadn't quite figured out who the guys were going to be. They figured it out. Pittman is the guy in the backfield. And in the last 3 weeks, he's also had 6 touchdowns. I believe he's had 2 touchdowns in each of these last 3 weeks. So count on him to do a lot again this week against Lafayette. That's my guy. So, Jake, that's going to put you up to bat.
All right, I'm going to go with someone who should be familiar for listeners from last week. I'm going to go with DeMarcus Lacey from Marshall. He has 3 straight 25-plus games, nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns over that stretch. And they play the porous Texas State Bobcats secondary. I think Fantrax has them as like 99th or something to opposing wide receivers. But they are not good at defending the pass. So I like him to continue his hot streak, and I like him to be the runaway wide receiver scorer for the week.
Yeah, and Marshall it was unfortunate to be playing against or in the time slot where you had the Red River shootout and you had the Indiana Oregon game. So I had put out a tweet during that game since I watched Marshall a little closer every week and just totally dominated Old Dominion in terms of being able to move the ball and then kind of surprisingly shutting down Colton Joseph and stepping up. But, we don't really care much about defense in fantasy. We're just looking for these guys that are going to make big plays, and you got the right one there with Lacey. Willie, back-to-back picks for you.
Yeah, so you guys took my number one in each position, so good for you guys on that.
That's why we put you last. That's why we put you randomly in the last spot this week.
There you go. Yeah, randomly. So I will go with we'll go wide receiver first since I just like the matchup here, and we're going to go with Victor Snow from Buffalo. He's 29% rostered, so this hopefully should be his last go around. He's coming off a 38.5 point game, 6 receptions, 136 yards, and 2 scores against Eastern Michigan. They get UMass this week, who's giving up 18 touchdowns on the season through the air. So I feel like Victor should feast off of that porous defense.
I love Victor Snow. I think that's a great pick. He's someone who's been percolating for a couple of years now. It feels like last year I think he had like 700 or 800 yards. And yeah, I think he's already shown to be their primary receiver so far this year. And now he's actually starting to see the volume uptick along with that. I think he's had like 20 targets in the last 2 games or something like that.
Yeah.
So great choice.
Yeah, he was my number one choice. And it was the 18 TDs UMass has given up that really stood out to me. I think, he could have a field day there.
Yeah. This next one, man, it's a little tougher because I have a bunch of names here. Mm-hmm. But as far as matchup wise, I'm just going to go ahead and take this guy. I don't think I want you guys to sneak in and take him a little bit later. Okay. This is a guy who was on the list last week, and we're going to go Braylon McReynolds from ULM. He is, let's see here. 14%. Yeah, 14% rostered. So last week he had a little quiet game, 11.3, but he didn't get in the end zone. I predict that to change against Troy. Troy is giving up, let's see, they're 119th ranked. They've given up 13 rushing touchdowns and 186 on the ground. Per game. So, so I think that should change for him. So if he can get into the end zone, that should hopefully put him around the 15 to 20 range. So can't complain there.
Yeah, I had him on my list. The only concern there is he hasn't had that consistency, but I do agree with you that, if you need to take a chance, this is the week to do it because he's going against Troy, who seems to be pretty bad against the run, or very bad, not even pretty bad, but very bad against the run. So I see what you're doing there. You're finding these teams that are giving up a lot of touchdowns, and you're just taking the guys playing against them. Seems to be the strategy for Willie, which is not a bad one.
He's had multiple 100-yard games as well.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. I mean, so now that he can, he can put up the yardage, it's just a matter of, okay, who can he get into the end zone against? And Troy seems like that candidate.
Right. All right. Well, Jake, hope we don't catch you off guard here, but this is where we snake back one time. So go ahead and make another pick here.
I mean, it feels corny to do it, but I'm completing my stack. I'm going to go with Carlos Del Rio Wilson. He's got
why not
3 straight 35-point games. So him and Lacey have both been on a tear. He had a 40 burger in there, and now they're playing 127th ranked as far as fantasy points to the opposing quarterback in the country. And thank heavens I picked him in the Sickos League because I think I'd have a few more in the loss column had I not.
Yep. All right.
I had McReynolds on I had both of those, both your guys on my list, unfortunately for me.
Yeah, everybody named so far I've had here. Yeah, it's funny. This was the winning combination last week for Farnsworth to have the highest score of the year. The most interesting thing to me is like Del Rio Wilson, Lacey, and Michael Allen are all kind of under that 11% range, even after having those two good weeks before this third good week. They're kind of all running in sync with one another. My dilemma is, do I take Michael Allen again because he's there? He's going against Texas State, or do I save him and let Jake take a trio, or will he take him? I do have another running back that I like just as much. So with that said, I think I'll probably look at quarterback here, and I'm not quarterback. I'll look at wide receiver, and gosh, it's a toss up there too. My goodness. I got two guys I like at wide receiver. I guess I've got two slots here, so I can get both of them, perhaps. So let me go. Maybe this will surprise some people. I'm going to go C.J. Williams from Stanford. He was the last receiver I added to the list, and I didn't catch him last night in my 1:30 in the morning haze. Doubled back around since we were drafting in the evening. Looked at some extra guys. One of those classic guys that, if you're just going through the list and looking at points per game, you're going to miss him because he's only averaging 13.9 points a game. But it's one of those guys who seems to have just emerged and is the clear number one target. He didn't do anything in the first 3 weeks, but the last 3 weeks he's had a 100-yard game in each of those, and it's produced 19, 26, and 24 points. So a little bit nervous that he's playing Florida State, but they are 63rd in giving up yards and 11th in touchdowns. So that's not enough to scare me off from taking C.J. Williams, who's had 12, 18, and 9 targets in the last 3 weeks. They're going to try to get him the ball no matter what. So there we have it.
Well, it does scare me, then, so good luck.
Jake, we're going to go in a normal order. The other FSU matchup is a little too scary for you? All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jake.
For Stanford's offense, yes.
Yeah, for Stanford's offense, most matchups are pretty scary, but I don't know how much fear any Florida State is striking in the hearts of anybody at this point, unfortunately for me.
Right.
But for my pick, it is. I don't like to admit it too often, but yes, very much so. I am going to go with Caleb Hawkins at running back from North Texas. I might not have. He might be actually 2 rosters. Let me make sure that I didn't mess
up. He's a 61.
Oh, crap. Okay, I'm not going to go with Caleb Hawkins. I am going to go with Jordan Grant from Akron. He has been a fantasy whack-a-mole so far. If you look at his last 4 games, it's gone something like 28, then 3, then 30 something, and then 3. So by my logic, we're overdue for a big game, and I'm going with Jordan Grant.
Okay.
Is that Grant Jordan or Jordan Grant?
Grant Jordan. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if I got this.
Yeah. So, because I have him as a QB, but I'm trying to figure out which guy. Want. Okay, I'm trying to figure out which guy you're after.
Let me see what I wrote down here.
Running back for Akron.
Yeah, it's Jordan Gant. Sorry, Gant.
Jordan Gant. Okay, gotcha. There he is. Okay. Because there is a Grant Jordan, so that's what
Jordan. Yeah, threw me through a loop. Had me second guessing myself there.
I got you.
All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, Caleb Hawkins. He's been on here the last. I guess he was on here He wasn't here last week because I think he had made it over 30% after his couple of really good weeks there, going back about 3 or 4 weeks. So
he's been awesome.
Yeah. Okay. There's
that
great Akron logo. That great Akron logo. Love to see that. What are they doing there?
Let's see.
All right, Willie. You get one here.
I got one here. Going with the theme that I've had going. We'll go running back here. and that's going to be Javon, I believe that's who that is, Ducker from Temple.
Okay.
He's
Yep.
14% rostered also. He
Yep.
is averaging 13 and a half. He had 23.1 against Navy and got an end zone twice. Didn't quite get 100 yards, but that may change going against Charlotte, who is 134th in the country. They've given up 12 rushing touchdowns. They give up 224 on the ground. So Temple and Ducker should have a field day. Really don't need to pass on them, and that's evident. So keep running it.
Yeah, and for those who have lost track at home, as far as to put that 133rd ranking in rush defense in perspective, there are now 136 FBS teams. That's 133rd out of 136, because it is hard to keep track of how many teams we have nowadays. That's pretty pitiful.
I've got a question. How many teams has Javon Ducker been on? Is this his fourth team or fifth?
Let's see.
Gotta pull that up, Willie?
Let's see. Stat wise,
can we name them while he's looking?
I've got Northern Illinois off my head, Memphis.
Yeah.
And where was he last year? Sam Houston State. There might have been somewhere else in there. I don't know.
I have Sam Houston, so
I was thinking Buffalo.
This should be 1, 2, 3. This is 4.
Wow, that's crazy. That's bananas. Well, Willie, you forced my hand now. That was one of the two running backs that I was I had a category of 3 that I wanted to get my 2 from, and he was number 2 on my list. But because Marshall's running back was there, that's why I didn't take him in the last round. But with that said, let me go ahead and grab Michael Allen from Marshall again. So for the second week in a row, you will see the Marshall trio here. And, what we want to say about Allen, he's got a great matchup against Texas State. Not only are they bad against the pass, as has been pointed out, they're also bad against the run, 99th in giving up rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. So it looks like this is going to be a potential shootout here with Texas State, who also has some guys emerging, as I was updating our year-to-date leaders, Texas State now has somebody in the top 16 quarterbacks, top 16 running backs, and top 16 receivers. Little fun fact. And then Marshall has these 3 guys on the rise at those same positions. So look for a shootout there. Get as many guys in that Texas State-Marshall matchup as you can. Allen had a big 34-point game 2 weeks ago. I don't know that you can expect that. I think they're going to use him, sparingly, or not sparingly, but they're going to be splitting between the pass and the run, so you can't count on him to have 34. But he is a guy that can get you close to 20 every week. The way that they've been using him, you can count on him for that. So I'll leave it at that.
And I like that pick.
No, thanks, Jake.
For me, I'm going to go with my second wide receiver. I'm going to go with Cameron Perry from Miami, Ohio. 3 of his last 5 games, he's had 100+ yards. Even last week, where he only had 3 targets, he was still able to get a 60-yard touchdown and finished with 77 yards and 2 catches and a score. So even in his bad weeks, he's been extremely efficient, and I think that he's got a lot of upside as well.
It looks like Jake's mid-season strategy here is to go heavy on the MAC.
All MAC. This is where MAC kicks in. I think they play Eastern Michigan. Not a bottom dweller as far as conceding points to wide receivers by any means, but also not a juggernaut either. So I think he's going to be able to continue his.
And Marshall used to be there. Marshall used to be in the MAC. So you've got old school MAC, and
I remember Byron Leftwich.
Exactly. Okay, there we go. That's one. I got to look him up, and I wasn't. When you said Cameron Perry, there were too many variations of how Cameron and Perry could be spelled. So I knew I needed to let Willie find the proper spelling before I even tried to type anything on the screen there. Willie, you're up.
Yeah, trying to decide if I want to break the seal on these tight ends here. I think I may have to go away from that for just a little bit here.
Okay.
Yeah, let me grab my guy, Nick Minicucci. He's still on the list, so let me go
Take your
ahead and take
quarterback.
him. Yeah, let me go ahead and grab him. He's coming off of a 36.1 game against Western Kentucky, and that's with no passing touchdown. So he did that. Let's see, what did he rush for? He had rushed for 3 scores. So
Wow.
like I said, he's that dual threat guy. We talk about guys coming off the bye. They get Jacksonville this week. Um, they've given up 10 passing touchdowns. I did not catch the rushing, but I would imagine that it's going to be pretty close to the same. They give up 165, and they've given up 8 rushing touchdowns. So with Nick being that dual threat, I could very well see him having at least 2 touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing.
Yeah. The other thing I'd add for people that have allowed Nick Minicucci to remain at 21% here, it means for some reason people are just scared to pull the trigger. Maybe it's because he's from Delaware and they're the new kid on the block. They weren't sure if it was a fluke, how he was doing. All I can say is we're halfway through the season, and not only is this a guy being picked on the waiver draft week in and week out, he's the number 8 fantasy quarterback in the country.
Right.
I mean, the fact that most leagues you can still go out and get a guy who is the number 8 quarterback overall in fantasy football
Oh, God.
it means something is scaring people off. I don't know if it's the name, I don't know if it's the school, but again, I have a feeling it's just because it's Delaware and people just didn't believe he would keep it up. But they're the right school that joined the right conference to make their way into the FBS. They're not struggling too much in Conference USA. They're holding their own, at least on the offensive side of the ball. So stop being scared. Go pick up Nick Minicucci and plug that quarterback hole.
Yeah, and then
There
take
you
the
go.
time on Wednesday night and give them a watch. You might be
Right.
surprised,
And
pleasantly
yeah, right.
surprised.
This is the week that Tuesday games start as well. So Tuesday will
Yeah.
start a run of probably about 60 or 80 days straight of college football every single day.
There you-
All right. So I will be doing what Willie did not want to do earlier, and that is to break the tight end seal. I still have a couple quarterbacks I like, so I'm not worried there. I'm going to go with Brock Lane from Utah State. He's another one of those guys that if you look at his points per game, you might not get too excited. You'll see 7.4, but it seems that something changed. He only had 6 targets in the first 4 games, but the last 2 games he's had 9 and 7, which has resulted in 17 and 15 fantasy points. I also love the fact that he's going against San Jose State, who is not only 120th in giving up points to tight ends in fantasy points, but they're also 132nd in passing yards. So there's a big opportunity here for a guy who seems to be kind of an integral part of the Utah State offense now. And again, don't worry about the first 4 weeks. We know he only had 6 targets. He's got a new track record forming here where he's producing at a pretty high level with 17 and 15 the last 2 weeks. So I like him. And I'm happy to have him. He hadn't been on my radar all year, but once you produce that second game in a row in the teens as a tight end, then I'm going to start paying attention.
Right, you better with so many getting single digits.
Yeah, exactly. So, Willie, that leaves you. I guess you can go tight end here because, or no, Jake, you can go tight end here
No,
if you want.
Jake.
Willie and I have already taken our running backs.
Exactly. So I will be doing just that, and I'm going to go with Joshua Long from Eastern Michigan, keeping the theme of the Maction for my team to lead me to the promised land. Josh Long has he's got 3 games over 12 fantasy points. He hasn't had a single game with less than 4 targets. All between 4 and 6. So at least he's consistent and has a solid role in the offense. I already picked Perry from the other side of this matchup, so banking on it, being a high scoring affair, and Long finding pay dirt and finding his 4th 12 plus game. Yeah.
All right, not bad. And for anybody new to CFF, it seems like it was a big season for newcomers coming in, and some people that really haven't listened to a lot of waiver insight. Maction, these any really not just Maction now, but a lot of these G5 guys, once they get into conference play, which we're about 1 to 2 games in now, this is when your smaller school guys begin to thrive, and that's why you see a shift in some of these point totals from the group of 5 guys, where they might have had single digits and now they've had a couple of double-digit games. That's likely what's going to continue as they play through their conference schedule against equal opponents. So, all right, Willie. Take heed to that advice.
Take heed to that advice, okay? It's
you
heated,
do. I know
but,
you do. You're kicking my tail this season, so I know you don't need the advice.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take my wide receiver here, obviously, and still going on the concept of, who's giving up the most touchdowns and whether it's going to be rushing or passing. We're going to go Cortez Braham, wide receiver from Memphis, who is 23% rostered. They get UAB this week, and UAB has given up 14 touchdowns through the air. They give up 238. Braham, he's coming off of a little low-scoring game. He only had 10.6, but that was because they blew the doors off of Tulsa, 45-7. But he has four receiving touchdowns in the last 3 games. So he's scored in 3 consecutive games. I predicted for him to do that as well. They are also coming off a bye. You know how I love that. And so against UAB, he should not have any problems finding the end zone.
Yeah, and a new head coach will be trying to figure out how to defend him because just prior to our recording, they fired Trent Dilfer.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's chopping day.
Hate to hear that,
so
Willie.
Speaking of that, we, when I text you that about Penn State this morning, we had the same reaction when that news came down. So yeah, right. Okay, it's Black Sunday, I guess.
Yes,
interesting.
It's a chopping day. So yeah, which is funny. They put out a whole big statement, I think, prior to this season about how they were going to stick it out and ride with Trent, and he had such good character and a long-term vision, and that was all smoke, I guess, because halfway through the season they're like, sorry, Trent, you still got to go.
Yeah.
So
wow.
We'll see. Maybe even more of a reason to play him. I like him. He was on my list definitely, and I had the exact same note as you that I'm writing his 11 points in the last game off to the fact that it was just such a big blowout against Tulsa. So that would be your only concern is if they just don't need to pass much against UAB, but otherwise he's got a great matchup and all the numbers throughout the season to add to the roster.
Yeah, I mean, teams still they seem to play hard, once the coach gets fired. So I don't think it's going to be a 45-7 type of deal because he's so he's coming off of a 23.2 and then a 30.7 previously. So I expect his numbers to be around that area.
Right. All right. Well, Willie, it's your option here. You don't have to if you want more time, but you could take your tight end to finish off your squad. But you can also finish us off at the very end if you prefer.
I mean, I can. That's up to you guys. I'll go ahead and do that. So this is a guy that I kind of get ahead sometimes of guys that show up on the radar, and then so I could just been waiting and waiting. So now I'm going to go ahead and just grab him now, and that's going to be whoops, put that in the wrong area. I didn't want you to have to spell his name. We're going to go with Bruin Fleischman.
I was taking a guess. I already had it typing in. I was because you mentioned him at the end of last week, so I was reading your mind. Yep.
I got you. Yeah, so he's 10% rostered. Had 11.5 against UNLV. I kind of like his numbers. What he had obviously against Navy when he had 28.6, but he's averaging 10.4. That's all you want. And what I really like about it is that he has 4 consecutive games of finding the end zone.
Okay.
That's what I like the most.
Nice.
They get Wyoming giving up 10 scores. So I just want the 10 points. That's really what we want out of him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a good one. I hadn't really seen, he hadn't made any of my list prior to last week, and then you mentioned him, so I started paying attention and had him on my list as my second tight end that I would have taken this week.
Appreciate that. Always good when people take the advice.
Well, I do listen. I'm a good listener. Okay, now I have a tough choice. I'm going to get to go kind of make multiple picks here if I want to as well at quarterback and receiver. I mentioned I had a ton of quarterbacks that I was okay with. I had Jake's quarterback, Del Rio Wilson. I had Nick Minicucci, and I had two in between that I thought were maybe just as good as Del Rio this week. It's Walker Eget from San Jose State, who has an excellent matchup against Utah State, and has been on a nice roll with points of 34, 27, and 26 in the last three. But then there's also Tucker Kilcrease, who was way more off my radar until I started. I think I played somebody that had him this week and was like, what? Who is this guy from Troy? And he's had 20, 32, and 36 in the last three since he started conference play in the SBC. And he had 415 and 5 touchdowns this week. So my dilemma is, do I go with Walker Eget versus Utah State or Tucker Kilcrease against UL Monroe? And it's really a coin flip for me here. I think I'm going to go Walker Eget because I think he's got the better weapons. I'll leave it at that. I know at least Walker Eget is throwing to the number one wide receiver in fantasy football right now in Scudero. So I know he's got a guy that can catch the ball and do things with it. So that's the deciding factor here live on the spot. But Tucker Kilcrease would be a name I'll throw out early as kind of that other name that we like to talk about that didn't get drafted. And then as far as my final receiver, same thing. I've got a little bit of a toss-up here. I've got a guy in Raphael Williams from Pittsburgh who's been pretty consistent. He's had about 14-plus in 4 of his 6, versus a guy who's more hit or miss. He has the high ceiling, but less stable. And that's Assad Wasim from Florida Atlantic. They both have incredible matchups. Raphael Williams is going against Syracuse, who's 131st in passing yards given up. FAU is going against USF, who is 124th in passing yards given up. So again, another dilemma here. And I think.
Oh, so you're not taking him yet? Okay.
Oh, for which one did you have in there? I wasn't looking. I was kind of doing the buildup of who I was choosing between.
Okay. I thought you were taking Wasim, but that's all good. Take your time.
I think I like the idea of a shootout there. I think there's more of a chance of just kind of a nice back and forth shootout. So I think I will go with Assad Wasim. I also love the fact that he's 5% rostered. People might have a much higher chance of grabbing him in their leagues versus Raphael Williams, who's at 24%. So let's give Assad Wasim the go ahead. FAU's got it rolling there. I think they had a 50-point week this week, and he's been stealing some targets and touchdowns from his teammates, so I like that too. And 12 targets.
He was really high. Obviously not as high as the guys that I took, but he was high on my list here this week.
All right, Jake, you're going to close us out here in the middle with your running back. I know we've given you all kinds of time to make this grand finale pick because Willie took 2 in a row and I took 2 in a row. So this one's got to be good. I know it's going to be a great one.
You are damn straight about that. It is going to be a good pick. I originally, I first sought inwards and then thought to the heavens and seeking guidance on what pick would help usher me to the promised land in this contest. And I was like, I want to go with, the person who got me here. And, that was Jonathan Silver. He had a big game. He has, maybe a potential good matchup this week. But wait, not so fast, my friend. My third eye opened up and I realized, you know what? I love the Florida State Seminoles. And you know what? Mackay Danzy is out there, and he is playing for Mike Norvell's life this weekend, okay? If we somehow lose to Stanford, there is no way Mike Norvell makes it back on that plane. I don't care if there's a $50 million buyout. You look at Danzy, and he does have the dual eligibility, so maybe I can't claim him here, but I'm going for it, and you guys can, take it up with my lawyers. But
we don't use our own personal rules here. In our home league, we do not allow as much flexibility as most leagues. But hey, most leagues are like, if Fantrack has him listed that way, you can play him that way. We need actual proof in our league that they're playing it. It looks like Danzy is more of a receiver, but he gets a few handoffs here and there. But
he's maybe both. I mean, he's not going to be a high volume guy. He's literally just going to be a 60-yard touchdown guy, and I'm banking on that happening this week at least once. It's going to be a reverse or a bomb downfield, but he is going to do it. He's one of the players that, anytime they touch the ball, the announcers can't help. They know nothing about him other than that he owns an ACC track record, and every time he touches the ball, track record holder Mackay Danzy, but he is supremely talented. He showed that against Pitt. He was basically the only person out there, putting us on his back and bringing us back in that thing. So I love him. He's a walking big play, and he's going to do it again this week. I'm betting my season on it.
Your
right
fandom.
Here.
You're betting your fandom and your fantasy credibility here.
I'm at least betting my waiver watch bragging rights. That's for sure.
There you go. So that's great. And I like how you queued that up, similar to me, with kind of teasing the choice that you were making in your head, Joe Nathan. That is one of your original picks from week 4. So like his counterpart or his partner there, Minicucci, they were probably both on that week 4 waiver watch, and they're still under 30% because people are scared of the hens, the fighting hens of Delaware.
You mentioned, Hawkins being over 60. Because a lot of these guys are so good. How is Marcus Lacey still 11%? Is it just that so much of the leagues that Fantrax is polling for this data are best ball leagues that have no free agent pickups? I'm just wondering how it's even possible. Is 90% of the world asleep on DeMarcus Lacey? That's crazy.
That's a good point you bring up.
I'm not
about
sure
the best
exactly
ball.
what's going on with that.
Right, but I had never thought about that aspect of it, because at one point a couple years ago, Fantrax scared us and just took away rostered percentage until we all screamed loud enough to say, hey, we need this for stuff that we do. And they're like, well, there's so many different types of leagues, it doesn't really seem to make as much sense to us. Man, we don't care. We still need some kind of barometer of where to start here. And that's why we use 30% or less, because we feel like in reality, maybe that means they're available in half the leagues. We need some kind of threshold. I never thought about the fact that the percentage for a lot of these guys might stay super low because, 60% of leagues out there might be best balls that can't even make any changes.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. That's why I couldn't put all of my leagues in that kind of a basket. I have to be able to make some kind of changes, throughout. Right. I just wouldn't want to just get in 15 leagues and we'll worry about what happens in December.
Right. Yeah. For me, I love the best ball leagues. Sorry, I love the best ball leagues, but they just get me through drafting during the summer. I don't even look at how they're doing during the season. I only care about my season long leagues outside of Sickos. I monitor that just personal reasons, but I agree. I like having the roster management and all of that, but just the best ball leagues help scratch the itch during the off season.
Exactly. And then you also, on the other hand, you don't want 15 leagues where you have to change the lineups on either. So you just need a healthy balance of a few best balls and then maybe, 2 or 3 that you change the lineups on. There are guys out there, and I've met them at the expo, and when we're talking to people that have been on this show, that are in 30, 35 leagues, which 10 of those might be leagues where they're changing lineups. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm in 20 NFL leagues. I think 15 of those are lineup setters, and then I'm in. I think I did 25 best ball leagues this summer, but I'm in another 8 C2Cs that have a college side that all managing your roster during the season. So It's definitely a chore at times, but I love it, and it's been that way for years now. So
Yeah, that's good. That's why we have you. We know you know what you're talking about, Jake. And with that, do you have 2 or 3 names that are just ones you would have taken if you had a few more slots, or that you just want to hype up and recommend to the folks?
absolutely.
Who do you got?
So my number one, and here's someone who I was hoping you were going to take at quarterback, is Joe Fagnano from UConn. He's coming off a 38 burger. He's got 11 touchdowns and zero interceptions on the year. He's led the Huskies to a 4-2 record, and they have a legit shot at being 5-2 after they demolish Power 4 Boston College this weekend. So he was my number one shout out once I got Del Rio Wilson. I knew I was going to call out Fagnano in this section, and then I'm going to go ahead and recall him out. I called him out last time. He was someone I was planning on possibly drafting if things didn't go well with Perry or Lacey, and that is Jacob De Jesus from Cal. JKS has still been on a tear and still looking better every week. De Jesus has been a target hog. He's averaging about 9 targets a game, 8 or 9 targets a game. They are low average depth of targets, but they manufacture him touches all over the field. He's their punt returner. He has had a rushing touchdown. And this week they do play a reeling UNC defense. So Jacob De Jesus.
Yep. And Belichick did make it through the week.
Yeah, that's the question. Who gets fired first, Norvell or Belichick?
Right. Let's see. All right, Willie.
Wow.
You always have a couple in the back pocket. You always have a couple in the back pocket there. Who do you got as extras? Maybe some low percentage guys. Let's see.
Low percentage. This is a guy that I'll probably end up taking next week if he's available, and that's going to be Caleb Komalafi from Northwestern. He's 6% rostered, but he's coming off 4 straight games of double digits. He scored in each one of those last 4 contests. He gets Purdue this week, so if you're in a pinch, grab him. I was surprised that Isaiah Cummings didn't get taken.
The tight end,
also from that Northwestern offense. I guess they're. I need to look and see the points that they're putting up, which against Penn State. Well, they got the coach fired. So another guy from former Northwestern is Griffin Wild. He's cut 3 straight games of he's scoring as well. He's averaging 16.2, coming off of. He's averaging about 7.5 targets a game. But like I say, he scored in his last 3. So really like what he's putting up. And lastly, and I didn't take him only because of the matchup. UNC is just a little hard to figure out what they're doing. They've only given up 5 rushing touchdowns. This is why I didn't take him. But I like Kendrick Raphael from Cal. He's 8% rostered also.
Yeah, I had him on the list. Then I'll take a quick peek here. I mentioned several other quarterbacks. You've got Calandria still at 29%. Might be a little tougher to find in some leagues, but if you're in a small league or a 12-team league with a lot of rotation and small benches, you might still be able to get Calandria from UNLV. And then you've got Rayner from Arkansas State going against South Alabama. I thought both of those were pretty good pickups, but he's also at 28%. See if I can. Kendrick Raphael, I like that one, Willie. I had him. He's at 8%. That's a good find. The wide receiver, I mentioned Raphael Williams from Pittsburgh. Let's go 2 more tight ends. Dylan Wade, 4% from Central Florida, is going against West Virginia. He's been a little bit up and down, averaging 7.3 a game. But 3 out of his 5, he's had basically 10 points or more, and he's had 6+ targets in 3 out of his 5. So I think it's a good matchup. He seemed to have bounced back this week and is now, a relevant part of the offense again. Hopefully that'll remain more consistent. He's got a track record. He had a good season at Maryland last year, if I'm not mistaken. And then a couple guys moving forward, probably see these guys taken next week, but might as well mention them as longer-term pickups that can help you, not just for the draft. But Bowden Groen from Kansas is 5% rostered. I was excited about him for this week until I saw he has a bye. The other tight end in Kansas, the other tight end at Kansas that was kind of sharing targets with him, Hanukkah, seems to be injured. So Groen's getting all the looks. He hit 26.6 this week with 14 targets. So he's going to be a guy that's a big part of Kansas offense. And then another guy that's on a bye that I was excited about, took my first note during the games this week, was Richie Anderson from Fresno. He's only on 2% of rosters, so you might be able to grab him this week and stash him for a solid tight end for your playoff run at the end. He's had 9.2 points plus in his last 4 games. So, 9 points plus there and 4 in a row with 8 targets in each of the last 2. So 2 more tight ends, which are really hard guys to find there that are consistent. But I think those 2 might finish strong for the season. So that's it for the players. I do want to say thanks to Jake again. I think it's interesting that there were 2 people in particular that we sought out to help us in the offseason that we were going to continue to put pressure on to help us even more this offseason to make our CFF list collective a little bit stronger. It was Farnsworth, who had the high score last week, and Jake, who is here with us today. So obviously we sought out, that tells me that we were seeking out the right guys, Willie, because 2 of the 4 that made it out of the 10 guys that participated were guys that we said, hey, we need to bring these guys around to get some advice from, so that it's just not our 2 opinions, bouncing off of one another all the time. So Jake, we appreciate some of the insight you gave us this off season, and as stated here publicly, we're going to lean on you a little more next off season to get you involved even more.
You're too kind. Vastly overstating any insight or input that I had. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Pleasure to be on. Luke Pabrasco, I hope that you lose and score 0 points in your week. So yeah, if you're listening, I hope you do not do well. All right.
We need at least 30 seconds on the background there. What is the rivalry here with Luke, who Jake is speaking with? Luke from the G5 Hive, who, along with Justice, his partner, are the other 2 that scored in the top 4. So we would have both G5 Hive guys here in a couple of weeks in their playoff.
But before you do that, though, because that was pretty aggressive. You said, "I hope you get a 0."
Yeah. That's why I want to know, like, what's going on there.
So we're both in a league called The Program, which is, you both should be in it. Absolutely. It is a ton of fun. They take like a C2C league and basically combine it with NCAA video game recruiting, where you pick the incoming high school players and you recruit them. And they have every week they got a selection show podcast where they announce, they do a RNG for where the players end up committing, and it's based on a whole confluence of things, and it's a lot of fun. And there's 5 conferences right now. They're all 12-team conferences, and in your conference you've got an in-conference rival. And my university is the Houston Cougars, and my rival is the FAU Owls, and it is managed by the most detestable manager there is out there. I don't know how they came across this guy. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, Luke Pabrasco. I can't even say it right. I couldn't even stomach saying it. So that's exactly, yeah. Except not hot, but yeah, exactly. I'm just just giving him a hard time. Hopefully he gets to watch this and have
all this is going to make me root for is you and Luke getting the 2 highest scores, so we can have you guys back for the finals head-to-head on here. So that's it.
Awesome. Okay. I don't even know if he remembers that or knows that I'm his rival, but I'm out here chirping either way.
All right. Well, we're going to make sure
you have to send some information on that league, because that sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely will. I don't know why it ever, this last offseason they were looking for more people, and I don't know why I didn't think to suggest you guys. I'll definitely do that in the future.
Who has the time to manage it and process all that?
Dude, I don't know. I have no idea how they do it. Tristan Cook is one of the people, but they do it. It's a labor of love, and they put a lot of effort into it, and it's one of my favorite
All
leagues
right.
for sure. So
Wow.
All right. Well, good luck, Jake. And Willie, I'll let you send us on out of here.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Look forward to getting that info. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and good luck this week.